It all began on a Tuesday. Yes, a Tuesday. The most unassuming, bland day of the week. The kind of day where you expect absolutely nothing remarkable to happen. We were happy, or at least I thought we were. 3 years. 3 whole years we'd built something. Or so I believed. We had our routines, our inside jokes, our plans for that little cottage by the sea, a future meticulously mapped out, or so it seemed. Then came the phone. Her phone, lying innocently on the coffee table, buzzing with a message. A message not meant for my eyes, clearly. I wasn't a snoop. Honestly, I'd never felt the need. Trust, you see, was the bedrock, the very foundation upon which our entire world was constructed. But this time, something felt different. A strange name flashed on the screen, a name I didn't recognize. My stomach did a little flip, a tiny, almost imperceptible lurch. Probably nothing, I told myself, just a colleague, or a distant cousin I hadn't heard of. But the feeling lingered, a small, cold knot tightening in my chest. It was a whisper of doubt that I tried desperately to ignore. Curiosity, that infamous cat killer, got the better of me. Or perhaps it was instinct. A primal urge to know, to understand the sudden, inexplicable shift in the atmosphere. With trembling hands, I picked up her phone. It wasn't locked. It was never locked. Another testament to our supposed transparency, I guess. I opened the message. My heart pounded. Each word I read felt like a tiny shard of glass embedding itself into my soul. It was flirtatious. No, it was more than flirtatious. It was intimate. My mind raced, trying to find a benign explanation. There had to be one. Surely. The world tilted. The room seemed to spin. Disbelief. Pure, unadulterated disbelief washed over me. This couldn't be Sarah. My Sarah. The woman I loved. The woman I planned to spend my life with. It had to be a mistake. A prank. Some kind of elaborate, cruel joke. But the words were there. Stark. Unflinching. Undeniable. The name on the message, Mark, seared itself into my brain. Just one name at that point, but it was enough. Enough to shatter the illusion of our perfect life. Enough to signal the beginning of the end. The initial shock gave way to a sickening need. A need to know more, to understand the depth of this betrayal. It was like picking at a scab, I suppose. You know it's going to hurt, you know it's going to bleed, but you just can't stop yourself. So, I dug. I scrolled through messages, through call logs, through hidden folders I never knew existed. Each click was a step further into a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. My hands shook, my breath hitched. The digital trail was a labyrinth of lies and I was utterly lost within it. First it was Mark. The messages with Mark were explicit. They spoke of secret meetings, of stolen moments. My stomach churned with a mixture of rage and nausea. How could she? How could she look me in the eyes every day, share my bed, tell me she loved me, all while this charade was playing out? The dates aligned with times she'd said she was working late, or out with friends. Friends I now realized might have been complicit. The meticulous nature of the deception was astounding. It was a betrayal on a scale I couldn't yet comprehend. Then, the unthinkable happened. It wasn't just Mark. Oh no. That, it seems, would have been too simple. Too straightforward for this particular brand of heartbreak. As I continued my descent into her digital underworld, another name surfaced. Steve. And then David. And finally Paul. 4 different men. My mind struggled to process the number. 4. It wasn't a typo. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a coordinated, sustained campaign of infidelity. Each name was like another hammer blow to my already fractured reality. The scale of it was breathtakingly awful. This wasn't a momentary lapse in judgment. This wasn't a simple mistake. This was a lifestyle. A carefully constructed web of deceit involving multiple people, multiple affairs, all happening concurrently. How did she find the time, the energy, the sheer audacity? I felt like a fool. A naive, trusting idiot who had been played in the most profound way imaginable. The woman I loved was a stranger. A very accomplished, very deceitful stranger. The life we shared, a complete and utter fabrication. Waiting for her to come home that evening was the longest wait of my life. Every minute stretched into an eternity. My mind was a battlefield. Anger fought with sorrow. Disgust wrestled with a strange, lingering disbelief. I rehearsed what I would say 1,000 times. Would I scream? Would I cry? Would I be cold and clinical? I had the evidence laid out, screenshots, dates, times, an undeniable testament to her monumental betrayal. I just needed to see her face, to hear what she could possibly say to defend the indefensible. She walked in, smiling. That same smile that used to make my heart skip a beat. Now it just looked like a cruel mask. "Hey you," she said casually, like it was just another Tuesday. The dam inside me broke. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I presented the evidence, calmly at first. Then my voice started to shake. I watched her face. The smile faltered, confusion. Then a flicker of something I couldn't quite decipher. Fear? Annoyance? It certainly wasn't immediate remorse, that much was clear. Her reaction? Oh, it was a masterpiece of deflection and denial. Initially she tried to gaslight me. "You're imagining things. You're being insecure. Those messages are old." Old? Some were from that very morning. When the blatant lies didn't work, she switched tactics. Excuses. So many excuses. She was unhappy. I wasn't paying her enough attention. It was a cry for help. A cry for help that apparently involved juggling 4 other relationships. The sheer nerve of it was, frankly, impressive in its awfulness. Not once did a genuine apology pass her lips. The final conversation was short, devoid of the emotion I felt. She offered no real explanation, no real contrition, just a shrug. A cold, indifferent shrug that told me everything I needed to know. The woman I thought I knew, the woman I had loved, simply wasn't there. Maybe she never had been. It was like a switch had flipped. The mask was off, and what lay beneath was empty, hollow. The love had vanished, replaced by a chilling understanding of her capacity for deceit. It was over, irrevocably, utterly. The days that followed were a blur, a thick fog of pain, confusion, and an overwhelming sense of emptiness. The apartment, once filled with shared laughter and dreams, felt like a tomb. Every object held a memory, now tainted. Telling my friends, my family, was excruciating. The shame, irrational as it was, clung to me. I felt exposed, humiliated. As if her betrayal was somehow a reflection of my own inadequacy. It took time, a lot of time, to understand that her choices were hers alone. They had nothing to do with my worth. Slowly, painstakingly, I began to pick up the pieces. Therapy helped, talking about it, dissecting the pain, understanding the dynamics of such a profound betrayal. My friends were a lifeline. They rallied around me, offering support, distraction, and a shoulder to cry on. I started rediscovering hobbies I'd let slide. I focused on my work. I started exercising again. Small steps, tiny victories, each one a movement away from the darkness and towards a semblance of light. The journey was arduous, filled with setbacks, but I was determined not to let this define me. Through the pain, a strange thing happened. I found a strength I never knew I possessed, a resilience forged in the fires of heartbreak. I learned that I could survive the unthinkable, that I was stronger than I ever gave myself credit for. Trust would be harder to come by in the future, certainly. Scars remained. But they were scars that told a story of survival, not defeat. I started to look forward again, not with naive optimism, but with a cautious hope. A hope for a future built on honesty and genuine connection. And then a few months later, came the twist. News trickled back to me through a mutual acquaintance. Sarah's carefully constructed world had started to unravel. Apparently juggling multiple deceptions takes its toll. One of the other men, perhaps not as forgiving or as quiet as I had been, had exposed her charades quite publicly. Her reputation was in tatters. She'd lost her job, some said, due to the scandal. There was no joy in her downfall, not really, but there was a quiet, distant sense that the universe, in its own mysterious way, sometimes delivered a peculiar kind of balance. And I was already moving on.